If I was wrong in yielding to persuasion once, remember that it was to persuasion, exerted on the side of safety, not of risk. When I yielded, I thought it was to duty, but no duty could be called innate here. In marrying a man indifferent to me, all risk would have been incurred and all duty violated.
This explainer is designed for teachers. We'll look at context, structure, key characters, and themes, and then explore classroom strategies that highlight the novel's subtler power. Why Persuasion is different from Austen's earlier novels. Persuasion is Jane Austen's last completed novel, published posthumously in 1817. It has a different tone from Pride and Prejudice. The heroine, Anne Elliot, is in her late 20s, more mature, reflective, and quietly suffering. The novel is shaped by regret, second chances, and emotional restraint. The world is changing. The naval officers represent a new, merit-based social class that challenges old aristocratic values. This makes Persuasion particularly rich for senior students who can handle ambiguity and emotional nuance. Context to foreground. Key contextual points to embed in lessons. The Elliot family is part of the traditional landed gentry, but they're in financial trouble. Sir Walter and Elizabeth cling to status. Anne and the Navy characters are more open to change. The Napoleonic Wars have just ended, bringing wealth and prestige to naval officers like Captain Wentworth. You might pose a guiding question such as, what kind of people does Austen think deserve respect, and how does she challenge old ideas of rank and worth? Plot in 4 movements. For teaching, a 4-part structure works well: the broken engagement and family decline. We learn that years before, Anne was persuaded to break off her engagement to Frederick Wentworth. Now, her vain father and sister must rent out their estate because of financial mismanagement. Awkward reunions at Uppercross and Lyme. Anne and Wentworth meet again. He appears distant and pays attention to the Musgrove sisters. The visit to Lyme introduces new characters and the dramatic fall of Louisa. Bath performance, pressure and observation. In Bath, Anne watches social games being played, Mr. Elliot's interest, her family's vanity, and the question of whether Wentworth still cares. The letter and final understanding. Anne and Wentworth finally communicate honestly, culminating in his famous letter declaring his enduring love. The novel ends with their renewed engagement and Anne's acceptance of a life bound up with the Navy. Character clusters. Encourage students to think about character groups. Anne Elliot, introspective, morally grounded, self-critical, often overlooked. Captain Wentworth, energetic, proud, initially resentful, but capable of deep loyalty. Old Guard. Sir Walter and Elizabeth Elliot, obsessed with appearance, status, and social lists. The Navy. Admiral and Mrs. Croft, Harville, Benwick, practical, mobile, egalitarian, comfortable with change. The Musgroves and others provide energy, noise, and social contrast, highlighting Anne's quiet insight. An effective classroom prompt. Who sees most clearly in this novel, and who is most blind? How does Austen show the difference? Central themes. You might frame the unit around 3 key themes: persuasion and autonomy. Anne allows herself to be persuaded as a young woman. The novel asks, when is it wise to listen to advice? And when is it a betrayal of self? Memory, time, and second chances. Unlike many first love stories, this novel is about love that survives time and silence. Students can track how memory shapes perception. Changing social values. The Navy's rise challenges the static, image-obsessed values of Sir Walter. The novel quietly supports merit, hard work, and resilience over birth alone. Techniques for close reading. Some features to highlight in class. Interior focalization. We are deeply inside Anne's point of view. often through free, indirect discourse, tracking every small emotional shift. Silences and subtext. Many key scenes involve what is not said. Students can analyze body language, pauses, and indirect speech. Symbolic settings. Kellynch, decaying old order. Line, danger, passion, and the turning point. Bath, performance, surfaces, and social theater. The letter, as a concentrated, quotable passage of emotional and rhetorical power. You might do a lesson where students annotate Wentworth's letter as if it were a poem, focusing on repetition, rhythm, and emotional buildup. Classroom strategies. Some ideas you can use. Persuasion moments timeline. Students map moments when Anne is persuaded by others versus moments when she asserts herself. This reveals her growth towards moral independence. Parallel passages. Compare early scenes where Anne is passive and silent with later scenes where she speaks more freely, such as the conversation on constancy with Captain Harville. Debate. Old rank versus new merit. Half the class defends Sir Walter's obsession with rank. The other half argues from the Navy's perspective. Then connect the debate to modern ideas about privilege and achievement. For assessment, students might write a comparative piece on persuasion and another text dealing with social change, or create a multimodal response exploring Anne's inner life through diary entries plus commentary. Persuasion rewards careful, empathetic reading. It insults students to think about regret, resilience, and what it means to remain true to yourself in a world that likes to tell you who you should be. This plan supports your students as they work with Austen's subtle language and complex emotional landscapes, helping them grow as both readers and thinkers.
Remember that it was to persuasion, exerted on the side of safety, not of risk. When I yielded, I thought it was to duty, but no duty could be called innate here. In marrying a man indifferent to me, all risk would have been incurred and all duty violated.